All right. I want to tell you how to communicate with dead people. Basically, I had a near-death experience. I myself have died and experienced um, basically the other side. I've experienced unlimited, unconditional love, infinite amounts of love, far more than the imagination can ever, relate to. I'd like to tell you that when people die, there's only one form of communication on the other side, which is called love. So if you are, let's say, a relative or a loved one dies, the only thing that you can send that they will get will be feelings of love, compassion, and unconditional love. So that's the only frequency that's allowed in. So any other frequency cannot be allowed in. That feeling, therefore, helps the deceased ones um, negotiate their world, their life, and their power on the other side. So they use that love sort of like kind of a boost. It's kind of a currency. It's very important on the other side. It's very, very important. That's how people are judged on the other side. See, the thing is, there is no judge on the other side. There's no God saying you did this or you did that. Basically, people judge themselves, and they judge themselves on one point. How much love did they give while they were living? And they are and the love that they receive from living people here on this side actually helps them to forgive themselves and to use that energy frequency to further their love on that side. So it is very, very important. It's the only currency, it is the only frequency, it is the only feeling and thought that actually transpermeates that world. So I tell you one more time, I got this straight from God. I got this straight from the other side. Is that dead people can only feel and hear your love. That's the only thing that will go through. Now, dead people try to communicate back. They try to comfort their loved ones and they try to tell them that, hey, I'm okay. I'm actually in a far better and more peaceful and tranquil heaven than in the living world, and I don't want you to cry and I don't want you to be sad and in pain. So that's the last thing that they want. And of course, that was the last thing that I wanted because I had family members and loved ones that were crying and in pain for me because I can see the future. I saw the future. There is no time on the other side. So dead people, they can see the future. They can actually see people in the future, their loved ones suffering because of their death. And they don't want that. A lot of people actually come back to the living because of that. And a lot of people come back because they haven't fulfilled their goals, their reasons why they're living, and that reason is perfectly one reason: to love as much as possible unconditionally, um, and to grow that love and to learn that power is the most infinite and the most powerful force in the universe. So communicating with this side to that side and the other side to this side, um, I actually tried to communicate myself when I was dead. In that world, I did feel the love coming from my family and my loved ones. It did help me a lot. It did help me to forgive myself when I did the past life review. It did help me to access the unconditional love and the infinite amounts of love that God is on the other side, and to use that love to create new worlds, a new heaven on that other side. to use your mind and your feelings to create a positive world on that other side. And a lot of people might come back, or they might get reincarnated, or they might just stay there. They might just stay there. But the whole thing is, most people don't realize this, but death is an illusion. It is a veil between life and death. And I just want to tell people that, hey, when people die, they don't really just die. They don't really go into the abyss. They kind of transform, and they go into sort of another life where the laws of physics and the laws of the universe are completely different than this world. That world, the other side, everything revolves around one thing. That's unconditional love. That is the only frequency allowed on the other side. That's the only thing you can work with. And that's the beauty of it. If you know how to work with this frequency and this unconditional love on the other side, which is abundant, which I would say would be like, there wouldn't be, you couldn't like explain it. I mean, it's like the most amount of unconditional love. And if you took all the stars and the sunlight on all the millions of universes and put them into the size of your hand, that wouldn't even tell you the power of unconditional love on the other side. So I'd like to tell you, if you want to communicate with your dead ones, please, 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 it has to be through unconditional love, feelings of unconditional love. For that, they do see you cry. They do know your pain. They do know that you might miss them, etc., etc. But they do want to comfort you. They do want to talk back, and they do want to communicate back. They want to comfort you. But a lot of times, a lot of these dead people, they do come back to their bodies because they don't want to see that suffering. That's how love works. It's like love will always try to comfort. They will always try to alleviate the suffering and the pain. That is the kind of the way that love is. It's the nature of love, is that it will never, ever, ever abandon itself. It will never, ever, it will always protect, and it will never, ever, ever betray or abandon itself. So that if there's this communication of love between both sides of the spectrum, dead people, the other side, and the living people, if there's that communication, there will always be communication, and it will always seek to protect and to guide those in the living side, as well as the living side to protect and to guide those who are on the other side. So it works both ways, and this has got to be taught. And I was taught this. I've experienced this. I've communicated on both sides, and I know. And I almost feel like a bridge that can really facilitate this. But again and again and again, I will tell you that yes, people still live on without their bodies as some sort of energy, and they do try to communicate back, and I do know this for a fact, and that the communication goes and comes both ways. And you could also communicate with the unconditional love. The loving force, which is God. You can communicate with God this way as well. And so you can communicate both ways with this loving force on the other side, and kind of know the mind of God, know the mind and see how it works, and what is the intentions, and what is the future, and see the future, and see the love in every human being through their eyes. Again, I can't stress this enough. Communication, it does work. Dead people, they don't die, they still live, they're still in spirit form. They do try to communicate back, and it goes both ways. Trust me on this, trust me on this, trust me on this. I have experienced this firsthand for myself.